Abby, a scientist, is packing her bags. She is moving to Oxford University to keep working on her genetic research. By chance, she has the exact same illness as Tilda, and she is also out of medicine. Then there is Ruiz, a college student who draws a popular indie comic book. He is dealing with the exact same problem with his medicine. At first, this just seems like a small issue, but none of them know their lives are about to change completely. Abby is the first to experience something strange. During her interview for Oxford, her body starts sweating a weird yellow scent called a pheromone. Suddenly, the two strict interviewers start flirting with her and get physically aggressive. They even start fighting each other for her attention. Terrified, Abby runs out of the room to get away. While panicking, she bumps into a stranger who also becomes obsessed with her right away. Desperate, she grabs an air freshener from a shelf and sprays it everywhere. This finally breaks the spell. Back at the concert, Tilda is in the middle of singing when she realizes something is wrong. Her hearing has suddenly become super sensitive. She starts missing notes. When she lets out a high-pitched scream, it shatters the glass windows in the bar. She has to leave the stage and watches her bass player take her spot. After the show, Tilda finds out how bad her new powers really are. While standing inside the bar, she clearly hears her boyfriend and her drummer talking outside. That should be physically impossible. She feels deeply hurt by what she hears them saying, so she starts drinking to handle the pain. At first, Ruiz seems to have milder symptoms. He just gets a fever after a party, so his girlfriend takes him home to sleep. But when he wakes up the next morning, he is lying in the grass covered in blood. He has no memory of what happened the night before. He quickly cleans himself up and acts like everything is fine. Confused and worried, he looks online for clues, and what he finds is scary. He reads that he broke into a stranger's yard and ate a raccoon. Knowing he really needs his medicine, Ruiz rushes to his doctor's clinic. Tilda is already at the clinic. She is wearing noise-canceling headphones to block out all the loud sounds. Soon after, Abby shows up, holding her air freshener tightly to protect herself. By chance, all three of them arrive just as their doctor, Dr. Alex, finishes calming down an angry patient. We find out that Abby, Tilda, and Ruiz are all part of Dr. Alex's special medical program, and they have known each other for years. Dr. Alex knows why they are there, but he tells them he is completely out of their normal pills. Instead, he asks to take fresh blood samples from them to check on their health. While at the clinic, Tilda accidentally breathes in Abby's scent. Right away, she becomes completely obsessed with Abby. Abby quickly sprays the air freshener on Tilda to break the spell. Dr. Alex acts like nothing weird just happened. He finishes taking their blood and gives them backup pills. Later, Tilda goes downstairs to meet up with her band for practice. Sadly, she overhears her bandmates talking about replacing her with the bass player so they don't have problems on their upcoming tour. Heartbroken, Tilda screams in anger, and the sound breaks all the glass around her again. Embarrassed and upset, she runs away into the night. At her job, Abby's scent causes total chaos among her coworkers. Running out of options, she is forced to jump into the shower fully clothed right in front of everyone. She just needs to wash the scent off so she can get the room under control. Ruiz's situation is getting worse, too. He wakes up naked and covered in blood for a second time. This time, he finds a dead poodle lying next to him. It is obvious that Dr. Alex's backup pills are completely useless. Shortly after, the three patients meet up to talk about their symptoms and figure out what is going on. They soon figure out that Abby is sweating out a scent that makes people uncontrollably attracted to her. Ruiz is not affected by her scent because his body is actually turning into a Chupacabra. Meanwhile, Tilda has gained super-sensitive hearing and the power to scream loud enough to destroy things. Knowing they need answers, the three head back to Dr. Alex's clinic. But instead of Alex, they find his old research partner, Sydney. At this point, the truth behind their shared sickness finally starts to make sense. Years ago, Sydney found out that this disease could cause human genes to change and mutate. Dr. Alex was the only doctor who believed her. Together, they started the medical program to give patients experimental treatments. Over time, Dr. Alex created fake stem cells that could fix damaged genes. But his success made him take dangerous risks. He started completely replacing people's natural genes with his strong artificial cells. This caused a huge fight between the two scientists. Sydney wanted to play it safe, but Alex wanted to push his experiments even further. The artificial cells ended up causing crazy side effects in the patients. To fix this, the two scientists created the daily pills that Abby, Tilda, and Ruiz had been taking for years. However, these pills only hid the side effects. They did not actually cure the real problem. Sydney explains that Alex called her earlier earlier that morning to brag about his latest progress. Because she was still mad about their old fight, she hung up on him quickly. But she was curious, so she went to the clinic anyway. But wants to talk it over with the rest of the team first. While Sydney starts gathering the chemicals needed to kill Doug, Abby and Ruiz go to Dr. Alex's old lab to look for computer files about the medical program. Even though they search everywhere, they don't find anything useful. At her own house, Sydney gets ready to test a new version of her drug. Once again, she sees the faceless man with the hammer, but wakes up right away. She realizes the new medicine is making her sleepwalk and see things that aren't there. Tilda hears a noise and runs into the room to check on Sydney. When Tilda asks how they are going to stop Doug from healing, Sydney explains her plan. She wants to chop his body into pieces and melt them in strong acid so he can't grow back. But Sydney doesn't know that Tilda and Doug recently had a deep talk and bonded with each other. Feeling bad for him, Tilda secretly sets Doug free. Sadly, this nice gesture ends badly. Doug thinks the group will never actually help him die, so he straps bombs to his body and blows himself up. His body parts are blown all over the place, and it takes the team hours to clean up the mess. Worst of all, Doug's death means their only clue about Hannah is gone. Seeing that the group feels like giving up, Sydney gives them a pep talk to keep them going. This gives Tilda an idea. She thinks she might be able to use her super hearing to find something hidden. The team goes back to Dr. Alex's lab, and Tilda uses her powers to find a secret door. Inside this hidden room, they find high-tech medical gear and a large iron cage. More importantly, they find the official paperwork for the medical program. The files show that Hannah currently owns a local cafe. Abby offers to go there and talk to her in person. Even though she is safe, she decides to go back inside to save her friends. Sadly, her rescue plan fails, and she is caught by Nathaniel's men. When Abby wakes up, she hears Nathaniel talking about handing them over to a secret government group called the Flux. But first, he wants to test their powers and take their blood so he can sell the info for money. The group refuses to give up easily. Tilda tries to fight back with her sonic scream, but Nathaniel saw it coming and put drugs in her water to make her weak. Since they don't know about Ruiz's Chupacabra powers, they try to force him to mutate. When Ruiz tries to change, he can't. The helpers then shock him with electricity to try and force him to transform. While everyone is distracted, Abby kicks one of the guards and knocks his mask off. Breathing in her scent, the guard falls under her spell and unties her. Needing to get rid of the threat, Abby tells him to kill himself, and she is horrified when he does it right away. But she doesn't have time to think about it. Abby quickly uses her powers on Nathaniel, forcing him to knock himself out. She then unties Tilda. As they try to save Ruiz, a guard with a gun surprises them. The stress causes Ruiz to finally turn into a Chupacabra. He easily beats up the guy with the gun, but his animal instincts take over, and he runs out of the house. Abby and Tilda can't catch Ruiz. Nathaniel wakes up and Tilda screams right at him, hurting him badly. They decide not to kill him and rush out of the house to look for their friend. After searching for hours with no luck, Abby grabs Nathaniel's research papers and Ruiz's cell phone. She tells Tilda they need to get out of there right now. This turns out to be a smart move. Right after they leave, an agent from the Flux shows up at the house. He looks at the damage and calls his team to start hunting down Abby, Tilda, and Ruiz. One of the agents dresses up like a police officer and questions Ruiz's girlfriend, but she honestly doesn't know where he is. At the same time, Sydney is still waiting for the old doctor to send his notes. She doesn't know he has been murdered. Suddenly, a strange man breaks into her house. When Abby and Tilda get back, Tilda's super hearing picks up the stranger right away. The intruder doesn't try to hide and faces them head-on. Tilda screams at him and Abby uses her scent, but the man isn't affected at all. He just sneezes. Luckily, he doesn't want to hurt them. He explains that he is another patient from the medical program. When he was a kid, he didn't have enough copper in his blood. The fake cells fixed the problem too well, and now his body is made of solid metal. Because of his powers, he acts like a local superhero and spends his time protecting his town. Witnesses. Seeing his niece in danger makes Ruiz instantly turn into a Chupacabra. He attacks the lead agent, biting off his nose and scaring the rest of the men so badly they run away. Back at the lab, Sydney listens to a voicemail left by the dead doctor. She hears background noise in the recording and recognizes Finch's voice, realizing she is the killer. Outside, the metal man grabs Hannah, who had been secretly watching the house. He wrongly accuses her of murder and starts attacking her. Tilda, Abby, and Sydney run outside to stop him, but he turns on them too. He admits that Dr. Alex actually sent him to keep an eye on them. Because he is acting so crazy, Sydney brings Hannah, Abby, and Tilda down into her underground lab and locks the heavy metal doors. Hannah is horrified to learn that Finch murdered the innocent old doctor. Abby sees how upset she is and tries to comfort her, telling Hannah she needs to drop this dangerous quest for revenge. However, they still have to deal with the metal man trying to break into the lab. Sydney decides to pump chlorine gas into the house upstairs, knowing it will drop the copper levels in his body. The angry man walks walks right into the gas and passes out. While everyone is distracted by this, Hannah quietly slips out of the lab without anyone noticing. A little while later, the metal man wakes up. He is stable again and still has his super tough skin. Sydney gives him medicine to keep his copper levels normal so he won't get sick again. To say thank you, he gives Sydney the secret cell phone he uses to talk directly to Dr. Alex. After handing over the phone, he heads back to his hometown. Elsewhere, Ruiz's niece keeps his Chupacabra secret from her dad. When the older brother gets back from the hospital, he sees how happy his daughter is. Touched that Ruiz helped out, the two brothers forgive each other and make up. Later that night, Ruiz goes back to Sydney's house. Tilda is the first to welcome him back. After surviving so much danger together, the two of them are starting to fall for each other. Before they can do anything about it, Tilda gets a call from her boyfriend. He sincerely apologizes for how he acted, and Tilda forgives him. Just when the group seems to have a moment of peace, the Flux agent wakes up in the hospital. Missing his nose, he is totally humiliated and swears he will hunt the mutants down. Because the team now has the phone connected to Dr. Alex, Tilda suggests they track its signal. They successfully track down Dr. Alex's location. Right then, Abby called them with awful news. Sydney had been kidnapped. Earlier that day, Sydney and Hannah had found Finch. They made a plan where Hannah would trick Finch into coming inside the house so Abby could jump her. Finch was a great fighter, but Abby managed to pin her down. They tied Finch up to ask her questions, but they were too late. Finch told them she had already kidnapped Sydney. Since Abby's magic scent didn't work on Finch at all, she had to call Ruiz and Tilda for help. Everyone rushed back to Sydney's house. When Finch refused to talk, Alex shocked her with an electric stun gun. What happened next was crazy. Finch's face started changing until she turned completely into Sydney. The shocking truth finally came out. Finch wasn't a different person. She was a split personality living inside Sydney's mind, created by the side effects of her sickness. Everyone was speechless. Dr. Alex immediately started having a deep, nerdy talk with Sydney about her brain and how to cure it, leaving the rest of the group just standing there watching. Hannah wanted to go home, but her phone didn't have any service. Abby offered to walk with her. By now, Hannah actually trusted Abby and invited her to hang out at her cafe sometime. But she was still a little nervous that Abby might use her mind control scent on her. Tilda was listening to them with her super hearing and could tell that the two girls were starting to really like each other. Then Ruiz gave Tilda an idea. He told her to try focusing her hearing on different noises all at once. When Tilda tried it, she heard the clear click of a sniper rifle aiming right at them. She pulled Ruiz to the ground just as a bullet flew right past his head. Everyone quickly realized that the Flux had surrounded the house, which was why their phones were dead. Abby ran to grab Sydney. Tilda felt a little jealous, so she went to visit her own boyfriend. Since Abby was left all alone, she went to the hospital to check on the girl who survived. The girl was poisoned and couldn't talk at all. Abby knew something was very wrong and asked Alex to help, but he said no. So, Abby decided to solve the mystery by herself. Meanwhile, Ruiz's girlfriend found out he wanted to take the cure to stop being a Chupacabra. She got furious, they had a huge fight, and broke up for good. As she walked away, the evil monster jumped out and attacked her. Ruiz instantly turned into a wolf and fought the monster to save her, but the beast knocked him out cold with just one hit. Ruiz woke up later in Alex's lab. Alex told him he had sent Ruiz's ex-girlfriend to another country to keep her safe. The evil monster had poison in its claws that made Ruiz see things that weren't there. Luckily, Ruiz's fake cells fought off the poison. Before they could talk more about it, they heard Tilda let out a massive scream. The monster had just attacked her boyfriend. Tilda was totally heartbroken, and her sadness quickly turned into blind rage. She and Abby scraped some of the poison from her dead boyfriend's wound. They were ready to find the monster and kill it, but the test results shocked everyone. The beast wasn't one of Alex's test subjects. It was actually Nathaniel. During their last big fight, Tilda's scream had accidentally blown a glass tube of the fake cells straight into Nathaniel's body, turning him into a monster. Now, he was hunting down everyone the group loved to get revenge for his defeated helpers. Realizing Abby's family was next on the list, she and Ruiz rushed off to protect them. Tilda stayed behind with Alex to help mix DNA samples. After the others left, Alex admitted to Tilda that he only kept her there to give her some quiet time to cry. He also told her he was trying to make his fake cells so strong that they could actually bring people back from the dead. That way, she would never have to lose a loved one again. He promised her the cure for their mutant powers would be ready by morning. That night, Ruiz and Abby kept watch in their car and talked about their families. Suddenly, they spotted someone moving in the dark. Ruiz jumped out and turned into a wolf, ready to fight. But it wasn't the monster, it was just Abby's little brother. Since Ruiz was getting better at controlling his wolf side, he managed to stop himself before hurting the kid. The next morning, Tilda texted them that the cure was finally ready. Abby happily called Hannah to tell her, but Nathaniel had already found her. Knowing something was wrong, Ruiz and Abby raced to Hannah's cabin. cafe. When they arrived, all they found was a big puddle of blood on the floor. Just then, how to control her powers, meaning she could turn into Finch whenever she wanted. Dr. Crane had also made her own version of the cure. While talking, Dr. Crane admitted she wasn't actually trying to catch Alex. Instead, she was just waiting for him to finish his research so she could steal it and take all the credit. Because Sydney's wrists were smaller than Finch's, she easily slipped out of her handcuffs. She quickly turned into Finch, knocked Dr. Crane out cold, and broke out of the lab. Once she got outside, she realized the base was actually out in the middle of the ocean on an oil rig, making it super hard to run away. Alarms started blaring. Sydney turned into Finch and beat up a guard. Then, she heard Dr. Crane over the speakers ordering everyone to evacuate the base. Sydney used this chaos to sneak back into the lab and face her. Right when things got intense, Finch tried to take completely over so she could kill Dr. Crane. Dr. Crane took advantage of Sydney fighting herself and injected her with a strange drug before running away. With everyone evacuating, Sydney managed to slip by unnoticed, jump into the ocean, and swim all the way back to land. But right as she was about to call Ruiz and Abby, she suddenly turned into Finch, dropping her phone into the water. That drug made her randomly switch back and forth between her two personalities. Even so, Sydney knew she had to get home. Even though Ruiz and Abby couldn't really understand the messy voicemail she left, they knew a big fight was coming. At the same time, Alex and Tilda finally made it to his secret lab, where he started telling her his real, evil plan. Now ready to fight, Ruiz and Abby argued about what to do next. Abby wanted to do her own science experiments to make the cure, but Ruiz just wanted to find Alex and stop him. They couldn't agree, so they split up. Ruiz talked the metal superhero guy into helping him hunt for Alex. Figuring bad scientists like to hide in empty places, they checked out an old factory. Instead of Alex, they walked right into a gang of bad guys selling illegal weapons. Ruiz wanted to sneak away, but the metal guy insisted on playing superhero and stopping the deal. To get them out of the mess safely, Ruiz had to turn into a Chupacabra. After totally trashing the place and scaring everyone off, they had to run. By coincidence, it was his niece's birthday, and his brother called to invite him over. Feeling bad for ignoring his family, Ruiz grabbed a present and went to the party. Meanwhile, Abby was busy with her research when her little brother called. He told her their mom had cancer, and Abby didn't know how to handle the bad news. She went to Hannah for comfort and asked if Hannah would help her test the new cure. But Hannah was sick of all the drama and said no. Freaking out, Abby's emotions got the best of her, and she accidentally sweat out her red scent, which made Hannah super angry. Abby had to quickly spray her with an air freshener to break the spell. When Hannah snapped out of it, she was furious that Abby tried to control her mind, and she walked out. At a diner, Sydney sat thinking about her history with Alex. They used to be super close, and she was basically his only friend. Back in the day, Alex had borrowed money from dangerous criminals to pay for his research. When he couldn't pay them back, they beat him up. Sydney had to pay off his debt just to save his life. Alex was so weird because of his rough childhood. His parents died when he was a toddler. Since he was a child genius, a bunch of scientists adopted him, and he grew up living in labs. He never really learned how to act like a normal person. As Sydney was daydreaming, her food finally came. She had ordered as Finch, but turned back into Sydney while waiting. At the same time, Dr. Dominique Crane had sent agents to track Sydney down. They followed her to the diner and then set up cameras and spies all around her house. Sydney went home and helped Abby work on the cure. With Sydney's smarts, Abby finally figured out how Alex made the cure so fast. Alex was actually taking healthy cells from his own body and putting them into his patients. Luckily, Alex had left a piece of hair at Sydney's house a while ago, so Abby tested it and proved her guess was right. But then they ran into a huge problem. Finch threw a temper tantrum and smashed their only sample of the cure. Now, their only choice was to track down Alex. Making things even messier, Abby texted Ruiz right in the middle of his niece's party, which made him super annoyed. His brother noticed he was stressed and tried to cheer him up, but right then, Tilda called Ruiz. Tilda had finally figured out that the nanobots were totally unsafe. Alex kept swearing they were fine, but Tilda had learned how to use her super hearing to listen to people's heartbeats like a lie detector. She knew he was lying to her face. Angry that he played her, she called Ruiz to ask him the truth about the bots. But she was still being stubborn, so she hung up before telling him where she was. As Ruiz was heading back to the birthday cake, an Flux agent dressed like a party clown showed up and demanded to know where Sydney was. Things got violent fast. Ruiz turned into a wolf and killed the agent to protect his family. He hid the body and rushed out to meet Abby. His brother was really upset that he was leaving again, but Ruiz didn't have a choice. When he found Abby, they both said sorry for their fight earlier. Thinking back to the phone call, Ruiz remembered hearing loud traffic behind Tilda's voice. He guessed Alex's lab had to be near a big bridge. They jumped in the car and sped off to find it. Meanwhile, Tilda decided to test what Ruiz said. She dropped some some nanobots into a glass box full of dead rats, and sure enough, the bots brought the dead rats back to life like zombies. She knew Ruiz was right all along. Alex still thought he could fix the bugs, but Tilda got up in his face about it, so he pulled a gun on her. Not scared at all, Tilda screamed and shattered the nanobots into pieces. Right at that exact second, Ruiz, Abby, and Sydney busted into the lab. But Finch took over Sydney's body and knocked Ruiz and Abby out cold. Finch walked up to Alex and ordered him to figure out a way to make her stay in control of the body forever. But Sydney fought back and took over her body again. In the chaos, Alex shot Tilda, knocked Sydney out, and dragged Sydney away. When Abby woke up, Ruiz was missing. She ran downstairs and found Tilda dead on the floor. While Abby was crying over her, Tilda suddenly gasped and came back to life. It turned out Alex had given her the immortal gene too. There was no time to celebrate because Abby saw that Flux agents were swarming the place. They found out that Dr. Crane Lady had actually been paying for Alex's crazy experiments this whole time. Abby also realized these agents were mutants now. After Ruiz bit off that one guy's nose, Dr. Crane gave her men superpowers to help them fight back, which explained why they hated the group so much. The angry agent's drone spotted Alex and Sydney back at the very first doctor's clinic. Surprisingly, the agent decided to stay behind to burn all the fake cells and officially close the case on Abby's group, giving them a free pass. Tilda and Abby rushed to the clinic to stop Alex. Meanwhile, Dr. Crane Lady, thinking that angry agent was dead, gave a kill order to wipe out Alex and Sydney. Tilda and Abby ran to Hannah's cafe to borrow her car. Abby used the moment to properly apologize, and they finally made up. Back at the clinic, Alex had tied Ruiz up and pumped him full of drugs to turn him into a Chupacabra forever. Sydney was looking terrible, glitching back and forth between herself and Finch. Finch didn't care about anything except taking over Sydney's mind for good. Alex tried to make Ruiz completely lose his mind by making fun of Tilda. Right on cue, Tilda and Abby blasted the door off its hinges with a huge scream. They rushed in, and Tilda knocked Alex out with one hit. They were too late to stop Ruiz from turning into a wolf, but he actually managed to calm down and turn back into a human all by himself. Finch threw a fit because things weren't going her way, but it didn't matter. Alex was finally caught. With the fight over, Tilda and Ruiz finally started dating, and Sydney got her mind back to normal. The agents showed up to question Alex. With help from Tilda and Abby, they proved that Dr. Dominique Crane was paying for illegal science just to make herself look good and give the Flux more power. The fake company Alex thought was paying him was actually just a cover made up by Dr. Crane. Because Alex snitched on her, Dr. Crane got fired and thrown in jail. Now that everything had calmed down, Sydney finished making the real cure. Abby and Ruiz took it and became 100% human again. With Finch totally gone from her head, Sydney could finally get some decent sleep. Tilda, however, had already decided she liked having superpowers. Right after Alex got arrested, she vanished. 3 months later, Tilda was out playing superhero on her own, keeping other sick patients safe and pointing them towards Sydney to get the cure. Ruiz went back to drawing his comic books, making a superhero based on Tilda, and kept visiting his niece to tell her cool stories. Abby moved in with Hannah, and they finally started dating. Abby spent her days tracking down the last few missing nanobots to keep the world safe. Because she was so smart, Sydney became the new boss of the Flux. One day, she set up a secret meeting with Alex in prison. She told him that his fake cells were actually spreading around the world, causing mutants to pop up everywhere. Sydney offered him a deal. If he helped fix the mess, she would wipe his criminal record clean and give him a brand new lab. Alex gladly agreed, but as they talked, he noticed Sydney was acting awful, a lot like Finch used to. At the exact same time, Tilda was watching the news about a weird new monster virus spreading across the country, and she knew her friends were in trouble. The cure was wearing off. Ruiz's hand had already turned back into a Chupacabra claw, and Abby was starting to spin herself into a creepy bug cocoon. Meanwhile, Sydney was on a video call giving a report to her boss, who turned out to be the old scientist who raised Alex. The crazy twist was that Alex himself was actually a mutant created in a lab by this old man, and Alex had no idea. Getting Alex out of jail was actually the old man's idea, but the old man had a huge blind spot. He had no clue that the woman he was talking to wasn't Sydney anymore. It was Finch. Finch had completely taken over Sydney's body for good. The story ends on a massive cliffhanger. It leaves us knowing that sweet Sydney is trapped inside her own mind while the evil Finch runs the show. It also hints that Alex's mentor isn't really a bad guy, but he probably used his own DNA to create Alex, causing this massive mutant disaster without meaning to. Hey, so that's where the show ends. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.